So I'm going to be doing a triangle seminar. If you guys have been to these before, these are free. Usually they're the first Sunday of every month, but because we had the car show, we did it on this Saturday. So when I'm recording, I'm going to try to stay in this lane under the flag. I've got my camera, I've got my mic. So I'm going to try to be as concise as possible and not go too far off. All right. So every single time I start these seminars, I always start them going like super like overly in depth on the actual move or the submission or how it works. And then I'll show a bunch of different options. I'll show how to defend it. I'll show how to attack. I'll show some transitions around it. I'll show some entries later. So first we're going to start off with the triangle itself. So the triangle choke is, I'm trying to lace my ankle behind my knee and clamp down. And I need their head and their arm trapped in that gap. The battle is where when someone's in the triangle, if I'm trying to pull their arm across their neck like this, they're going to be trying to resist and pull backwards. So the real battle is fought where I'm pulling their arm across and I'm pulling their head down. So I'm going to show some tricks on how we can win this battle pretty decisively. So, Neil, can I use you? So we're here. I'm going to go over setups later, but for now we're just going to start in the position called the high diamond. Okay, my ankles are crossed, one leg is over the shoulder, and one leg is under the other shoulder, all right? So now I have his head and his arm isolated. In a perfect world with no resistance, I could just pull his arm across, pull his head down, and then I'm gonna try to lace my knee behind my ankle, and now we can squeeze, and we can pull down our partner's head, and we get the tap. So the real, like, golden nugget of information here is, in my adjustments, I've been doing this since white belt. Okay, I got pretty obsessed with jiu-jitsu pretty early, and since white belt, I've been triangle choking people like crazy. At white belt, this is the only thing I knew how to do. I used to go into fights, and other coaches would be like, hey, he's gonna triangle choke you, don't let him triangle choke you, and then I would triangle choke people, okay? And he was using this exact style, and I still use it today at black belt. So there's a couple goals that I want to accomplish. One of the goals is breaking his posture / lifting my hips up to his neck. So if you see, there's a big gap between my hips and his neck right now. So even if I did lace the triangle choke, if I had like 12-foot legs, right, I could lace the triangle choke. It'd be really hard to choke him because my hips are really far away from his neck. So the very first thing I do to people is I connect my hands behind their head in either an S grip, which is just 10 fingers rolling your hands together, or a gable grip. And there's actually a notch on the back of everyone's skull that I'm looking for when I do this. So I go behind my partner's head, and now I'm gonna dig my heels down. My ankles are gonna stay crossed. I dig my heels down, and I hip thrust upwards with my hips as I pull down on the head at the exact same time, okay? So this is what brings his head closer. And right here, my bottom leg stays clamped, and my top leg is gonna undo and clamp deep and diagonal across his back. I almost try to take my heel to his back hip pocket. And then I just recross my ankles. Don't try to lace the triangle yet. So my very first adjustment when I'm being serious and I'm doing triangle chokes is this. Connect my hands, I crush the head, I hip thrust. Now I stay here with my bottom leg and I re-bite the top one and then I cross my ankles. Okay, so go ahead and start like pulling your elbow back a little bit. So here I've already gotten to the position that I call the tight high diamond. So my very first triangle choke adjustment is from the regular high diamond, crush, re-bite, cross to the tight high diamond. Okay, so the next part I want to show a little bit of a visual. The next part's dealing with people's arm. All right, I need to pull his arm across his neck. And what a lot of people don't realize is, when you pull your arm down like this, it's not your arm that's resisting, it's like your back muscles, right? And like maybe a little bit of your rear delt. So what happens is the closer my elbow is to my hip, the tighter and stronger all these muscle groups are. My core, my back, all this stuff. So to get this off, I'm gonna do a huge hip thrust, which if he has his arm resting on my hips, when I hip thrust, it pulls his elbow away from his legs and his hip, and it deactivates all these muscles right here. So what I mean by that is if you go like this really tight, right? So he pulls his arm in and I do this, his whole body starts to move as I move his wrist and his hand, because he's locked in with his back muscles, and then push your arm out straight and then resist me from moving you. And here it's really easy to move people's arm because I've already disconnected those muscle groups. So again, we do that first step. I crush the head, I lift my hips up, crush the head, lift up, re-bite, cross. Now right here, he's gonna be trying to pull his elbow down towards his hip to flex all these muscles in his back and his rear delt. So I'm gonna dig my heels down and lift them, my hips as high as I can to the sky. And as I drop, there's a moment where as I'm dropping, even if he's like trying to pinch down here, as I drop, there's a small disconnect between his arm and my hips. So I lift them as high as I can. I 2-on-1, I start to push and I drop. And that's how we get the arm across. Now, as I drop, I'm also gonna do a sit-up and a crunch to trap his elbow into my gut and my stomach. Now we can grab our shin. Now we can place our foot on the hip, dig underneath and cut our angle, and now we can lace to our full triangle choke and we get our tap, okay? But the real battle is not the end part. The real battle is these first two steps. I just shot up, I just crossed my ankles. There's a big gap between the back of my knee and his neck and my hips and his neck. So the first step is I'm in the high diamond. The next step is the tight high diamond. Don't worry about the arm. Don't try to adjust your triangle. Stay here. Crush the neck. Hip thrust. Re-bite. Now I adjust. Now I grab my shin. Now I can cut my angle. And when I'm here, I don't want to, I can lock it over my foot to the back of my knee if I can, right? I have long legs, so I can almost always do this. What I really want you to do is focus on pulling your ear to this knee and stomping down as you do this. Okay, I'm clamping as I'm setting up this choke. And now we have a very good triangle choke. But even if, I'll show a variation later, but even if you have really short legs, once you get to this part, you can just cross your ankles. I'm not in a triangle choke. Look at how far away my knee is here. Pinch. There's my tap. Okay? So if you accomplish the first two, it doesn't matter if you can't lock triangle chokes. So there's no, coach, I'm short, right? That's not an excuse for not being able to do triangle chokes. All right? So high diamond. Boom. Even better if you practice it like this, where your calf and your back of your knee is disconnected, because this is a terrible high diamond. It's super loose. So I collect, I hip thrust as I pull, and then I re-bite. I keep my back leg on his lower hip and rib. I hip up, and then I re-bite diagonal. And then I just cross my ankles. This is my new position, tight high diamond. Now, as his arm is over here, he's gonna be pulling down towards his knee and his elbow. I get a huge hip thrust from the sky. 2-on-1, I push, and then I drop. And as I drop, I'm doing the crunch to trap his elbow into my stomach. Now I grab my shin, foot on the hip, and my arm goes under his leg to pull me sideways. And I want to be looking down his ear canal, and now I lace my triangle chokes. Okay? This is the very basic triangle. I'm going to show a bunch of different variations, a bunch of different setups, defenses of the triangle, but this is the number one thing that I do. Okay? The first step is always, 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 you go from a regular high diamond to a tight high diamond. Any questions on the basic triangle or how to adjust it? Yeah.
Are there like when you go to cut that angle and you shoot under the leg, is there like other available options, like say for some reason the leg is extending and you can't quite reach it or something like that?
Yeah, so we'll twist a little bit so you guys can see. You asked the question. So I'm here, I already did my first adjustment and I can't reach that leg. Let's say he stretches his leg backwards. Because he did this, I'm gonna cup the shoulder. And when you pull the shoulder, if I take my other leg away, when I pull on his shoulder, or this arm pushes my leg even more into the neck. So if I get to this part of the adjustment and I can't find that leg, I swim inside the shoulder to do the same thing in front, and it's still very automatic. Does that make sense? Huh? If you can't reach the leg to help pivot the angle, you can take the shoulder and crunch sideways. If you fight somebody really big and you don't crush their neck and you start the high diamond and your first step's not the tight high diamond, you won't triangle good people that are big. Okay? This is how I catch people all the time. Any questions?
Is there any specific contact point, like you trying to put your heel right in the crevice of his hip?
On the adjustment part,
Yes, right when you're going for the high diamond.
so right here, I'm hip thrusting with my ankles crossed, and then I just leave the lower leg. I just leave it on his lower back and lower hip. There's not like a specific point. I'm just curling really tight because now I'm basically gonna do like a one-legged hip thrust as I chop. But I'll be pulling down on their neck the entire time. I do a one-legged hip thrust. I chop and I pinch and then just recross. Don't try to lock a triangle yet. Just think about being as tight as you can. This is another thing. Is this right here? When I cross my ankles with the back of my knee off his trap and I posture up towards the ceiling really high, posture. So right there, my leg popped out. So now come back. So now, if I do my first adjustment, right, crush the head, hip thrust, re-bite, posture up, up. So if Miho was twice as big as me, he could stand up right now, and I would go in him. Because the back of my knee is laying on his trap in the back of his neck, and not like this. You guys see the difference? I slid down a couple inches. Jiu-jitsu is a game of inches. This will not work. If he postures up really, really hard, nothing. But if I'm able to re-bite and then just cross, I'm chilling it. I'm not even squeezing that hard. It's just the points of contact is way better for me than actually the back of my knee, right? It's like kids that hang off the monkey bars where they hook the back of their knee there. They're not hooking their calf there. So why would you do it on a triangle choke? Okay? Questions before we drill? All right, let's get it. On 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Questions on that? I explained it a couple times. I'm going to show it one more time. Miho, can you go down right here for me? The first step, right? You can go online and look up like a regular video how to adjust a triangle where you grab the shin and it's under. That's not like the golden nugget of info. The golden nugget is this, is that first step. When you connect your hands behind my head and hip thrust and re-bite, that's what sets you in position to start doing any, like the triangle choke at all. Initially, when people get high diamonds, the leg just kind of rests on their shoulder. And this is what you'll see. It's called big guy jiu-jitsu. They'll let people put them here, and then they'll just start turning and just like crushing through people. The reason that happens is because you're not on their neck, so they just rotate, and there's no threat to the throat or the neck. So when you initially get here, he's got to crush, hip thrust. No. See, I didn't hip thrust, crush, now hip thrust. There, now re-bite. There. Now, yeah. That choked me. Even though he didn't like set up the real triangle, that alone choked me. Because now it went from my shoulder to now his leg is actually on my throat. And he should always be clamping on that bite. Okay, so we crush the head, hip thrust, re-bite. Now we've got him. Okay? So any questions on the very basic triangle? Yeah.
Is crushing the head what keeps them from just standing up?
Correct. It partially keeps them from standing up. It partially opens up like the side of their throat. It does like a couple things at once. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to show some triangle variations. So this one's the Tom DeBlas triangle, otherwise known as the old man triangle, if you guys have seen it before. So Tom DeBlas has had knee surgery in both knees. He has no ACLs in either knee now because he's done jiu-jitsu for so long. So he pulls his leg sideways, his knee basically like comes out of position. So he can't pull the leg sideways on the triangle choke. So this is his fix, and I wanted to give a shout out to him because I've used this since I was a white belt, and it's absolutely phenomenal. Also, you can call this the fat man triangle because you can do it as a fat man or two fat men. He's not fat, but you can do it two fat men, or you can be fat and you can also do it. Okay? So yeah. So the first step is the same thing. We crush the head, we hip thrust, we re-bite into the back pocket. Now here's the trick. I'm going to cross my ankles, but I want to make sure that as I cross them, I'm not doing this and leaving his shoulder out. I want to cross them and make sure that as I cross, my inside of my thigh is back here on his tricep and not like under his shoulder and on his ribs. So as I hip thrust, I re-bite. I'm going to cross, but I'm going to intentionally cross here. Now, I'm going to squeeze my knees together, crush the head, dig my heels down, and again, hip thrust. Don't do this. Don't stretch up, okay? So I crush, I re-bite, I cross, and now I hip thrust and squeeze, and I got the tap, okay? I've put a couple people in tournament unconscious when I was a blue belt, because big dudes, a lot of them just think they can't get triangle because, you know, big neck and all that stuff, and they don't realize that you can be tapped without me cutting an angle, okay? So I get here, I'm in the regular high diamond position. I reach, I crush, I hip thrust, I rebite, I cross my ankles, I pinch my knees, I crush the head, and I hip thrust again. Yeah, it sucks. It doesn't feel good. It crushes your spine. Your face kind of gets jammed into their groin really hard. You can't breathe. So sometimes I've done this to people, and afterwards they tapped, and they were like, dude, you didn't choke me. I couldn't breathe. And I was like, sounds like a tap to me. I don't know about you, but it sounds like you're a loser, right? So if you know you get here, boom, and then you're like, oh gosh, this guy is a behemoth. There's no way I'm lacing a real triangle choke. You don't have to. I'm here, hip thrust, rebite, cross. Ooh. It comes on fast, guys. It comes on very fast. That's the other reason why I wanted to show that as like the first main step of like golden detail, because it sets you up to do this. It's gonna set us up to do our arm bar. It's gonna set us up to do a bunch of other random stuff, okay? This is the fat man triangle, the Tom DeBlas triangle, all right? So I'm here, I crush, I hip thrust, I rebite, I cross, I pinch, and now I hip in. So now, what if his arm is like over here? Irrelevant. Does not matter. And that's why that one's so powerful. And sometimes I'll do that just to make people react really hard and start like hand fighting the arms off the head. And as they're hand fighting the arms off the head, I'll just collect the arm and finish a traditional style triangle. I'll cut my angle, I'll lace the foot behind the knee, and we're good to go. All right, I had one of my old belts. Shout out to Chris if you're watching. He used to prefer this one over the regular one. He was like, dude, once I learned it, why even do the regular one? I can just crush people's face. Yeah. Okay. Questions on this? The Fat Man Triangle, Tom DeBlas Triangle? Yeah.
You're putting the leg over.
Mm-hmm.
How do you want to visualize it, the knee coming up, or just however high you can shoot your leg?
The choking or the supporting one? The choking one. So I'm trying to lift my hips up and place my heel down here in his back pocket. Like I'm trying to lift and go back pocket. And then I'm crossing, and when I cross, I'm really pinching my knees together to bring that arm across. But even if his arm is here, I still need to kind of retract and pinch to bring his shoulder into his neck. You see what I mean? Yeah. Any other questions on this? Questions? So if you do this, boom, 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 and I'm here and I start squeezing, and now they start using their hands to peel these off, I'll just adjust my regular triangles, and now we're on the regular finish anyways. So when they start like using their arms to defend, to free their neck and spine, I'll just start pulling their arms across and finishing a traditional triangle choke. Okay? But these two are the two that I use the most. I'm gonna show a bunch of other random submissions that pair with the triangle, but these are the two, like when I'm thinking triangle, this is what I do to everybody. I did it like 4 times yesterday, like just because I was like getting ready for this, and I was like, oh, let me do it again. Oh, yep, still the same. Okay. All right, let's get this one down, and then I'll show like a bunch of options at the same time. Let's get it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's regroup. All right, any questions on this? If, like I said, if you're taking nothing away else from the seminar other than one detail, it's the crushing the spine, hip thrust, rebite, and cross your ankles. Now you can choose what it is you want to do as your next step. Do I want to finish a traditional triangle? Do I want a Tom DeBlas or Fat Man triangle them and just finish them straight on, which I do all the time? Do I want to pivot into an arm bar? Do I want to make it another submission? What do I want to do from there? If nothing else, that's your step 1, and then do whatever else you feel like doing afterwards. Does everyone understand this part? Because the rest of it, I'm going to show like 3 or 4 things you could do at once. Like it's going to be like options now for everything else. So that was the in-depth part. So any questions on the in-depth part before I press on to options? No. All right. Stick with me here. So when we're here, crush, hip thrust, rebite. All right, right here. How do I armbar people? There's 2 ways. One is to dig and start twisting first. That's one way. If I'm able to make this angle while I already have my rebite. Don't try to do this with your calf hanging low and try to twist, because now dudes are gonna stack you and they're gonna crush and your legs are gonna fall sideways. You need the first step to do this, guys. This is how people get stacked. is because they just start turning. And I'm here, crush, hip thrust, rebite. Now I spin. As I spin, I throw my calf over the forehead. I'm dragging, drag. Now my calf just cups the face. I grab the thumb, I throw my elbow over it, watch my armbar seminar on YouTube, and now we just hip thrust, okay? The other way of doing it, and this is especially for kids, kids aren't allowed to crush the neck when they do triangle chokes. So watch, heels down. Okay? When you're sitting neutral, people's elbow naturally rests kind of on the side of your hip. So I'm lifting my hips up and in a circle, and I drop them. Up in a circle, drop them. Now I just pinch and twist a little bit, and then again I throw my calf over the face, and now we have very strong arm bars. It will not work if you're here and you just try to throw your leg over the face. People are gonna rip their arm out from this angle because my hips are not behind the elbow. So when I twist like this, my hips are a little bit behind the elbow. And when I circle, my hips are behind the elbow. And now I can finish my arm bars. This is really good. This is one of my favorite ways to counter people when they sit back and sit tall really high. Sit back and sit tall, sit back on your heels. There, see this? You set all the way back. Heels down, boom, got him. Yeah, at brown belt, one of my fights, the dude, I pulled him into a triangle and I could just feel it in his soul. He was like, nobody triangles me. And I was like, well. I'll take that arm bar. And he was like, holy shit, that was a fast match. Because it was like a 10-second match. Because I pulled guard, and the second I laced at the high diamond, I just did like one big hip circle, boom, right there. Okay, so the way that I do arm bars from the triangle, I still do my first adjustment, I'm still doing it. And now I get my hips, especially I can get them to the outside of this thigh. Go ahead and switch real quick because I'm real calm. So watch, he's here, do the first adjustment, crush, hip thrust, rebite. So now watch. I do this. I sit all the way back. You see, my thigh is out here. Hip thrust and get over my thigh with your hip. There. See how he caught my elbow? Yes, now he just throws his calf over my face and just pulls down the arm. Yeah, that's a good arm bar. That's how we triangle arm bar. Not from here, and then he starts to throw his leg over my body. There's no way. My elbow is still tight here because it's not in the center of his hips. So he's gonna grab the arm, hip thrust, and go all the way. He got it. He's in. Yeah. That's how we arm bar from triangles. Okay? And if you don't, you can go down one more time. If I get to the triangle and I immediately, before he starts doing this, I start stacking and driving into him, you can pass the guard. But if he makes that first adjustment, and then I start to stack, it's actually gonna lead to my arm bar. Go ahead, go for the arm bar now. They'll hand you arm bars because you're stacking, but you still did that first adjustment, that golden nugget from the seminar. The crush, the hip thrust, and the rebite. Crush, hip thrust, rebite, okay? It's really, really important. So whether they cut the angle for you by trying to stack you, whether you twist or you hip over the leg and the thigh, that's how we arm bar from the triangle, okay? Questions on the arm bar?
Which way are you circling?
So there's one arm in the triangle and one arm out. The arm that's in the triangle, he's got to get the center of his hips, his belly button, under my elbow. So he has to circle towards the elbow. See that? Now he's got it locked in. Now his calf just goes right over my forehead, and now he can just, remember to catch the end of the lever, armbar seminar. There you go. Yeah. Cool. So again, especially some tall dude, you lace up a triangle and they go like this. Whew. They sit back, that's your moment. Circle, circle, armbar. Boom. All right, let me show a couple more options real quick. So, a couple other random subs from here. One, my partner is trying to glue their elbow to my hip. I'm gonna hip thrust. I'm grabbing his wrist. I'm gonna push on his elbow, and I'm gonna do a sit up and pull my knees to my chest, and then I pinch my knees for the wrist lock, okay? It's not just me grabbing people's wrist and bending it. I'm gripping his whole hand closer to the knuckles. I push on it. I hip up, and as I drop them, I pinch my knees, and that's what bends the wrist. And now I'm pushing on the outside of his elbow, and my whole body, there's a crunch for that wrist lock, okay? Another way to deal with this is as you're here, you lift your hips up and you get your wrist inside their wrist, underneath it. And now you swim as you drop, and then you catch their hand up on your shoulder. So my shoulder, my ear catches wrist. I grab his elbow itself and I roll it all the way over. And as I roll it, I step on the hip and the ribs and I start turning for the arm crush. I do this a lot to people, okay? I'm here, I hip up, I get my wrist underneath, and I swim the arm to the outside, and then I catch the wrist. I grab the elbow, and once I have it tight, and I have his wrist caught, then I can release, and I step on the ribs, and I start turning to finish the arm crush. All right, this is another way that you can deal with people that they bring their arm to the outside. You hip thrust, you go under the wrist, and then you just catch it. All right, so if you're struggling with the regular triangle because they're, messing around with that arm, fiddle fucking with it, you can do some other options. All right, so we got the regular arm bar by turning with it or hipping over the thigh. We've got that wrist lock by grabbing the elbow and the wrist. And you're basically like, almost like you're playing like a big accordion, right? That's how I hit my wrist locks here, because we're really trying to pop that wrist down, yeah? And then we have the arm crush. You're catching the wrist in your shoulder like this, like you have a question for the teacher. Your ear's glued, and then you grab their elbow and clamp on. Questions on this? Yeah. It's different at every single tournament. So it's kind of weird to give you an option, because when I was a lower belt, it was blue, but now at like grappling industries, like white belts can wrist lock. So you just got to be aware of what tournament. But I'm thinking IBJJF white belts still can't wrist lock. So you have to look up the rules of every tournament you go to. Yeah. Questions? Arm bar, arm crush, wrist lock? No. All right, let's get it. On three. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's regroup. Questions? Armbar, wrist lock, arm crush? No. There's a couple other things. I hit this at white belt. This is a Dean Lister move. It's called a reverse Kimura. When you're in the triangle and people wrap the leg, instead of going to the arm crush, if he keeps his arm bent, you shoot your arm as deep as you can. So you pull on their elbow and you raise your hand to the sky. You chop and grab your own bicep, and then you grab their hand. And it's very tight reverse Kimura. You can do a regular Kimura too from here. That's fine. But especially if he connects his hands under my hips, a lot of people will do this. It's really hard to get my hand in here. So I hip thrust. Yeah, it's almost like that's a really important part of the triangle, guys. And then as I drop my hips, I pull on their elbow to get my hand up. His hands are still connected. There's the tap. See, if I try to do a regular Kimura from here, I'm not going to connect your hands. I'm not going to be able to get my arm in there. So I hip thrust and I weave in at his wrist, and then I drop. And now I'm punching. See, it's already on. It's a very, very tight Kimura. It's a reverse Kimura, okay? There's a lot of other options from there, but based on the time, I've got to move on to defenses and then setups. So I'm going to talk about triangle defenses now. Any questions on anything, like finishing the submission from the triangle or options from there? Arm bars and triangles are usually the two things I hit from that high diamond. Arm bars and triangles, okay? Questions, yeah.
Is there a time where you would prefer cutting the angle instead of doing the knee hit thing?
So usually it's based on whether or not I can force the arm across the body. So against really good people, right? Those adjustments that I showed you guys, crushing the head, rebiting. So I crush the head, I rebite deep, and I cross my ankles. I do this no matter what. No matter what I'm about to do next, this is what I do when I'm being serious, okay? I want to pull his arm across to finish the OG triangle where I'm cutting an angle. So I want to hip thrust, drop, do a crunch, and catch that elbow across. And now I want to adjust, cut an angle, and I'm here. When I fight really good people, sometimes their elbow is really far back, and my readjustment was like a centimeter. And I'm like, oh gosh. And then my arm adjustment was like an inch. Now I readjust again. And now I arm, and now I readjust. And now I've got him. And now I've got him centered up. And so sometimes against really big dudes, you've got to just like creep down the ladder, down the pathway. Like it's back to the neck, back to the arm across, back to the neck, back to the arm across. And at any point in that sequence, I can cut the angle, or I can stay square and just lace it and finish that traditional one. But it's a super feeling thing. You have to get there live with resistance, and you got to feel it out. You got to feel out both variations. You got to figure out what your preference is. Like I said, most people I teach that Tom DeBlas one to, they end up just sticking with that because it's a lot easier to not have to cut the angle. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions on the triangle or the armbar? Any random other submissions from the triangle y'all want to see? There's other dumb stuff you can do, like you can Americana people from there. There's a bunch of random stuff, but as I said, I got to move on. I wanted to show setups and escapes, and I want to stay on our time frame. Okay, so I'm gonna talk escapes now, defending the triangle. So when I'm here, stacking, especially if he knows what he's doing, if he does that first adjustment and then I try to stack, I can choke myself. So you got to be very careful. What you'll see a lot of big guys do is they just like drive their head towards the other guy's head to try to bring the knees up, and then they turn one way or the other, and then they just like hope that it worked out. But again, if he made that first adjustment, I'm screwed. He's gonna choke me more. And I've done this a couple times at black belts because I'm just curious. I'm like, oh, let's see how they deal with like the traditional, fat man stack where they just pull on you and then turn. And because they had a tight triangle, it just choked me like faster. I was like, okay, that wasn't it. All right. So here's the thing. This is Henry Atkins talks about this, okay? You grab both the shoulders or both collars, and now I'm gonna take off like an airplane into the sky. There, I got him, okay? It's not me driving my head to his head, it's me doing this. My head comes up here, my hips push into his lower back, and that's what opens the triangle. And I can do this even if he starts it the correct way that I just taught, where we crush. So watch, so crush, we bite. So now this is going head to head. Yeah, I'm gonna tap to that. Okay, so do it again, crush, we bite. Shoulders up. That's the stack. If you stack somebody good and you go head to head, nose to nose, they'll just tap you faster, okay? I'm one of them. I'll tap you quicker because I know how to do my adjustment. I've had some dudes where they drove into me with such oomph that I just backwards rolled into mount, basically. So, the stack, I'm catching the shoulders so he can't run away. I don't want him to shoulder walk, right? I catch the shoulders, you can grab both their lapels, you can put your palms on the shoulders for nogi, and then I just go up. I'm trying to literally like look up, and then my chest is trying to go forward as I go through, yeah.
No, I was just gonna ask, is it pretty much like
It's similar pressure. It does it balls people up like that. Yeah. Similar pressure. Yeah. So this is how we stack. I'm here. The more I bring my shoulders together forward, the worse this is for me. The more I do this, the more I'm putting him in the triangle for this version. So I'm grabbing my partner, and now my head's going up, and I drive my hips in, and then we just start passing. That's how we stack. Okay? Now the opposite one is the limp arm escape. So I'm here, I'm gonna start to stand, and now my knees are gonna jam him in the butt, and now I turn my thumbs down, and I twist, and I limp arm out, okay? So my knees pushed into his butt, my legs are together, my thumbs go down, and then you start limp arming. Your arm's gonna go all wobbly as you do this, yeah. Yeah. So I'm here, I'll stand, my knees touch his butt, and now my thumbs go down. And my knees, as I back up, my knees jammed, and now it's gonna force the omoplata, or I'm gonna fully pull myself out of it. This is very effective early game escape. Very, very good to do limp arm. He's here, boom, boom, and I'm like, oh, no. Don't adjust, don't do the tight high diamond. I taught that, I know what's happening. I know what the next step is. All right, so I'm basically standing up, making sure my knees touch his lower back, and now I'm like doing that rounded back thing, and my thumbs go down, and you can start peeling out, and limp arming out of this. Okay, those are the two opposite ends of the spectrum: stacking and limp arming out of triangles. Questions on these before I show other escapes? Yeah.
the first one you said you kind of like take off from there?
Correct.
Are you grabbing his like shoulders so that he doesn't
Shoulder walk.
yeah, exactly.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. What I don't want to do is this, and then he starts backing up. And now we run off the mat, and then the ref says that I'm trying to flee or something. Yeah. Yeah, you can just do this. Nothing wrong with this. I just need to stop him from moving. And now again, I'm not just like driving forward and up. I'm trying to push my chest forward, neck and head up. And it puts a bunch of pressure of my hips into his lower back gap.
What would you do instead for nogi?
Huh?
For nogi,
Just cup the shoulders. Yep. Yep. Questions? Stack and limp arm?
in the armpits too, or would that be sound?
No, because you're kind of pushing when you pin armpits. So I want to like collapse and catch. Okay, it's very similar to like stacking an arm bar, like a regular arm bar. When I'm here and he laces up this arm bar, shoulder. Now my knee covers the other shoulder. I lift him up and now I pinch his lower back. Now I rip my arm out. But see how I trap his shoulders so he can't run or spin under me? Questions? Stack and limp arm. Let's get it. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's regroup. Questions on the stack or the limp arm? You out of here, brother? How we going? Questions on the stack of the limp arm? Out of here?
Well, thank you so much.
Yep.
Jeff had a good question about like if I succeed in getting his arm kind of like to the center line,
Yep.
can he still do the airplane? Or is it too late?
No, you still can. It's not about the arm. It's whether he has your spine or not. Because you can't drive your chest in and do this. I literally can't do this without pulling my head back. I can't. Naturally, the second I push my chest forward, my neck comes back. So if you're crushing my neck and I try to do that airplane thing where I take off, I can't take off because I can't go up with my head. So you won't be able to finish the stack or do it properly. Yeah. Anything else? Stack or limp arm? No. So let me use you. So a couple other ones. I'll show these kind of in quick succession so I can get the transitions. So one is, I call it like the cartwheel pass. To me, it's one of the best passes, especially early in the triangle, where the arm that's inside the triangle, he wants to pull it across the body. So what I'm gonna do is preemptively, I'm gonna pull my elbow to the top of his thigh, and I'm gonna put my hand on the mat. And now I'm gonna cartwheel over my partner and force their legs off. Again, this is early. So I'm here, and the second I feel good, my elbow comes back, like not down by his hip, like high by the knee. I put it on the mat, and then I start to cartwheel and turn him belly down, and then right here I start driving my hips into him, and it always opens the triangle at that moment. Okay. Again, it's very early escape, but I'm like cartwheeling and pushing out of it like that. All right. Another one is that's going to the right. Another one is the gorilla pass, where I take both my knuckles and I place them on the mat. I hop up to my feet, and then I spin while I'm on my knuckles. You're gonna get put in an omoplata, or they're gonna try to, and I'm gonna try to catch that leg as I come back around. All right. So on the sides, I may want to bring your arm to. Let's say their first adjustment isn't close to the neck like it's supposed to be, and he pulls my arm over. Knuckles down, and then you just twist. You get on your toes and you run the corner like a gorilla. Stomp. So when I'm here, I can cartwheel this way to break out. I can knuckles down, get on my toes and circle and force the pressure open that way. And you can also, very late when he pulls my arm across, is I grab the top of his kneecap and I put his leg on the mat. I get on my toes, I pull on the kneecap, and I grab my shoulder in to his calf. And then immediately I catch his leg between my legs so I can get hit with a secondary submission. Alright, so while I'm here, he pulls my arm across, he's got my head real low, and I'm like, uh-oh. So both my hands go to the top of it, not here on the thigh, with the actual knee, and run sideways. And now as I get on my toes, I pull his knee, my chest, and I drive my shoulders to the The second it opens, I catch. Because I'm trying to chase you out, and I'm trying to apply you, arm all this stuff. So I need to catch and turn as quickly as I can. Alright? And the last one, probably one of my favorites, is the spider guard escape. In nogi, you can just show him on the wrist. In the gi, I'm grabbing his sleeve. I sit up, and I put my foot in his bicep. Now I turn the other way, and then I'll combine this with the cartwheel one. So I go like that to open. And usually I'll catch people's leg, and I'll start passing from my leg lockers. I'll catch legs, and I'll lace up the honey hole. And I'll start doing knee bars and ankle locks and all that other jazz. So I grab the arm, foot, and I fall. And now to finish this, I'm stretching, my elbow catches that far side. And now I'm starting to get up the leg drag, or go to the underhand, or whatever it is. The top of the new one? Huh? The last one I showed you, yeah. I think it's more possible. But as I'm here, I'm tucking the knee, I'm grabbing my shoulder, base calf, and I'm pushing on the mat. And then I catch the foot to make sure I don't get repop my arm bar and my collar. And immediately I start turning towards my partner. A lot of options though to escape the triangle. Okay? A lot of options. Stacking, limp arming, cartwheeling, gorilla passing, a lot of different options. Okay? The spider guard break, stepping over the body. You can look at it like that too. Cool. Questions on these? Questions? That's what happens fast. It is so aggressive, and that's me doing it slow. Usually when I do it, I kind of go like this, and I'll like cartwheel my body over them too until like full center. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Kind of unrelated, but like lately people have been doing the dumbest escapes and trying to pull me. They'll put both of their legs on my stomach. They'll like sit back and put both of their legs on my stomach.
Correct. So that's a variation of this like spider thing, where I'm trying to use my legs to create space like this. So people will do this, put both hands on the stomach, and then they'll push away. Okay? So here's something to think about when you're on bottom. If you guys really want to, I'll show you all the counters for every single one of these. But we're not going to have time to do that and show setups to triangles. Whenever people start doing this spider escape, or this like double step over style, a lot of people fuck up in that they sit back without anything on them initially, and then they start to get ready to throw the legs open. The second I start to crushing the head, rebite, this prevents most types of stacking, okay? Just so you're aware. If he does the spider guard sit back style, immediately I have the arm bar. If he, come back up. If he attempts to do the kneecap style where he like turns to the side and he goes sideways, when people do this, I cartwheel and I force people into mount as I run up, and then I triangle armbar people from there. So there's a counter to everything. I don't really have time to go over all of it. I just wanted to say this. The rest of it's going to be setups, and there's so many different setups. I mean, there's still so many different things I didn't show from the triangle position, but the main thing is there's always a weakness in whatever their escape is. All right. Sometimes people hand you their head in the middle of their escape, and it'll lead to you crushing the neck and doing that part. Sometimes they leave their arm, like the spider guard sit back one. He didn't give me his head, but he gave me that arm. So now I can just do that little hip swivel and whip onto armbar. So there's always a weakness. You just got to find what it is. There's a lot of different options. Okay. So from close guard, so the regular close guard now. So close guard, there's a million different setups for the triangle. I just want to show this one because it's the most common. I need to get chest to chest with my partner, and then I'm going to hug him and shrimp and catch his wrist. So you can do this like clearing of the wrist type stuff. A lot of the time, what I do more is I try to pull people's arm across and I knee pull, and then they start ripping this away. And as they rip away, I sit up and I just like super hug my partner. Like I'm trying to like mother's milk him from bottom almost. And then I'll just cup their bicep. I stay on their back, their upper back with my arm, and I open and I shift off. And then I relock my guard sideways. And then with my guard locked sideways, I go thumb up, not thumb down, okay? I want you to try to clamp my ankle with your arm like this. Okay, so go ahead and clamp it really tight. This is me trying to pull my leg out with the thumb down. So now let me have your hand back. Clamp. Really tight, really tight, really tight, really tight, really tight, really tight. So what's happening here is I can just walk over him because I'm thumb up and I'm punching straight out. So the key to this whole triangle is I'm trying to come here to this position. I can't get punched here. This is great for MMA. And I'm just chilling here, super hugging the head, and I have the other arm. I cut my angle, and then I readjust. my foot goes on the hip, and now I'm stepping over, and now we're in the high diamond. Now I crush. I can do a million different things, all right? And like I said, there's a bunch of shit I didn't show you guys. You can do this one where you just grab the neck and hip in. There's a million different triangle chokes, okay? A lot of different things. But from closed guard, that's the main one, the easiest one. I could show hip bump triangles, variations of push, pulling, chasing the back, gi variations where you do a bunch of crazy shit. The easiest one is this one, because gi and no-gi, I use this one all the time. I break their posture down, usually by chasing the back and combining that with knee pulls. Doing this is very, regular closed guard, doing this is very like, not realistic against anyone that trains. Because the second I do this, he's just gonna re-pummel his hands to the inside and they catch, as I'm trying to clear their hands to the mat, they catch your biceps as you pull. So it doesn't work very well. So my preference is this, and I try to chase people's back. And now I'm hugging the shit out of him. He pulls his arm out. Pull your arm, pull your, I'm still hugging. Now I caught my position. Now I flip my hand upside down and I step over. And now we're in our triangles. It's great for counter striking. It's great for no-gi. It's great for gi. Just really simple. Chase the back. When they pull their arm back, super hug their face. And as they pull both arms out, you just shrimp and you get to your position. Thumb up. Step over. Now we have our triangles. Okay? Questions? No? Okay, just in case you guys have seen it before, the hip bump triangle, a lot of people will do this. They'll sit up, they'll bump, and people put their arm down, then they pull their leg back, and they triangle choke. It's fine. The way that I do it is I do this collar tie, I sit up and I bump, and when they post, I throw my leg over their back so that I'm hanging on my partner, and I swing into my chokes. And now I start. Now we have our triangles. Okay. Questions? No. So the closed guard one. Chase the back. I'm gonna have you do it to me one time. He's gonna chase my back by pulling my arm across my body. So he's 2-on-1s, he's gonna pull. When I start resisting, he's just gonna let go of the arm, sit up and double hug my face. Yeah. See how he got me down? Now he just chooses the side. He's already got the overhook, so he's gonna shrimp to that side. Yep. No, like that. On this side. Yeah, there you go. And now you catch thumb up on this. There. And now you're just stepping over. Yeah, see it?
Gotcha. Yes, sir.
It's a very basic. So simple. Chase the back. As they rip, super hug. And then just like shift off to the side. Thumb up, and now we're in the triangle choke. Cool? And if you want to do the hip bump, make sure your leg is over their back. Not just like throwing it over. Okay? Let's get it. On 3. 1, 2, 3. I want to make sure I get the main positions down, so I don't want to show too many options from closed guard or whatever. What's on? Okay, regroup. Let's regroup.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do a bit of a break, which is like you're gonna have to let go.
All right, guys, we got 20 minutes. So let me show the one from a side. The one we're gonna use for this real quick. Let me show the one from side control, and then I'm gonna do mount and then back, and then we'll see about the open guards and the other transitions. So when I'm in side control, the way that I triangle people is I need this arm shelved on my hip, trapped by my thigh and my ribs, like this. So to get here, what I'll do is I'll get the side control and I'll pull on their elbow and then I'll hip switch underneath, but then I'm gonna take my forehead like really far forward to drive my hips into his shoulder. It doesn't really work to just switch like this and leave my head back because yes, I can get his elbow up, but when I turn back over, it feels like there's a moment where they'll slip their elbow back down. So what I do is I hip switch and then I lean my head forward to really trap that arm high. And once it's here, I let go with my arm. I'm not hooking it. I'm squeezing it with my elbow, my thigh, and my ribs. And now, based on where this hand is, if it's where it's at now, I push it to the mat. And if it's close to his chest, I'm gonna push it into his chest. I'm gonna take my head like this, up above his head. And now that lets me pick up my bottom leg, and I throw my leg over. And I pull them into my lap, I lace my triangles, and then we do our arm bars and do all that other jazz. All right, so when I get the side control, I'm here, I pick this arm up, and now I drive my head forward. And now I make sure that my elbow catches this arm here. all my weight's very far forward. I pin this to the mat or to the chest. If they're really strong, the odds are is their arm is gonna be like in front of them. You just push it straight down and you lean your head up, almost like you're like taking your head in like a circle. And as I lean my head away, my leg becomes weightless. And you can throw your leg over for triangles. You can also arm bar people right here, just by hipping in. But by all means, you can just force them up, lace your initial triangle, crush the head, rebite, and now you're doing all that guys. So from side control and mount, it's very, very similar. But I hip switch, my head comes forward, and now I have that trap. Now because his hand was in my chest, I pushed it in. You can even pick up their head as you lean backwards. Now we're here finishing our triangle chokes. Okay? The real battle is getting that arm up on your hip, and then wherever the arm lies, you just push it there. And you throw the leg over and you have a triangle choke. Cool, cool. From mount, the reason I'm showing these together, these are super similar, so let me put you in mount. So from mount, I gotta trap his arm the same way. Now I can do this one of two ways. One, I can go wrist under wrist, and I can swim. And every time I swim, I'm gonna try to pinch and trap his arm to the outside as I slide my knee up. So when he's here, usually whatever wrist is on top is the side I do it to. So initially, I'll swim, and now I have it on the outside. Now from here, because his wrist is in his chest, I can pin it to his chest, or I can pin it on the mat. If it's on the mat, I step on the arm. If it's in the chest, I just pick up his head. Either way the head comes up, I throw my leg over. To finish mounted triangles, where my knee points is telling me where my head has to go to the mat. So my knee's pointing that way, my head comes down, my heels come up, and we lace our triangle choke. All right, if you want to be like me when I was a white belt, by all means, you're here, you swim and you catch, and then what you do is you just pick up their head and you fall back, and you pull them into your triangles. But obviously, if you're doing this for MMA or whatever, self-defense, you don't want to fall. So just stay on top and finish. It's very easy. You swim, you trap. Once it's trapped, push the arm to the mat or to their chest, and then you just step over the head. Boom. Oh yeah, the other way. The other way is you force the arm up really high, like you're doing a head and arm choke. So you're here, you get real heavy, and you crush. And while you're here, I could push this over and do like head and arm chokes. But while I'm here, what I'll do is I'll slide up high, and I'll swim my elbow inside. Now I have the same trapping position. Wrist to chest, wrist to mat. Either way, I'm gonna pick up his head. So either way, I'm picking this head up off the mat to give my leg somewhere to go. And then as my leg goes over, my knee points to where my forehead's gonna go on the mat. So my knee's pointing perfectly sideways. So this thigh will swivel and catch. So when this is here, I do this, I get my heels off the mat, and I lace my triangle choke, and I finish. Or, again, in my setup, if you don't like doing that because it is more fancy, you just come here and you just fall. And now we start lacing our triangle chokes. Okay? But mount and side control are the exact same. We're catching this little armpit squeeze. Same in close guard, honestly. We caught the armpit squeeze, that overhook type squeeze, and now we just trap the other wrist, and then we throw our leg over. Yeah.
When you're trying to finish belly down, if I can remember, you're bringing your head to the far hip.
No, so here I'm in mount. I'm facing this way, right? I trap the arm already. I pick up their head, I step over. Now naturally my shin is perfectly sideways. So I've got to turn perfectly sideways with it. Right now my shin is pointing that way, so my head is going to go that way. As I put my forehead down, I force my heels up, which gives me the room to adjust the mounted triangle. Now, if I want to, I can sit back on it to finish, but if you do it correctly right here, you'll finish everybody just by squeezing. Yeah, but the key is putting your forehead down and having your heels come up. Boom. Questions on side control or mounted triangle? Side control or mounted? And remember, on any of these, you can just fall to your back and just start adjusting them how we did at the beginning of the seminar. Okay? All right, let's get it. On three. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I think this is going to be the last thing I show. Mijo, can I use you? Yes. So it's the rear triangle, the triangle off the back. Again, there's hundreds of different triangles, guys. There's a bunch of different ways. Oh, let me take your back. There's even a bunch of different ways to do this exact triangle, but off the back, the focus, you can keep it really stupid simple. You fall to the underhook side, and then you just kick them down and trap their arm with your leg, okay? To keep it really simple, I would do the straight jacket if we're being serious, which is as I fall to the underhook side, I grab his hand like down by the pinky, I push him down and I clamp at the same time to guarantee that the back of my knee is above his shoulder. I can't trap it like this, like sideways. I need to trap it where the back of my knee is over the shoulder. My heel strips the wrist. I key lock or I double deadlift. It's up to you. So I can either do like a Kimura grip, or I can clamp his arm down to his shoulder and catch the wrist and the elbow. This is the way that I tore my buddy's pec, so be very careful. I can actually tap him here just by hipping in. Yeah, see, it doesn't feel good. It hurts the shoulder or your pec muscle, but the whole goal is to touch his arm to his ear as I shift us. So while I'm here, if I do the key lock, I'm gonna pick it up and pull it straight behind his head. The side of my foot touches, and I'm gonna pause right here where he's facing straight up. Now I'm not gonna move him anymore. I'm gonna put my feet on the mat, and I'm gonna shrimp on my own, so that my heel touches, or my knee touches the mat, and my heel's pointing towards the ceiling. Now this is the perfect angle on the triangle, and I know it's gonna kill him, okay? So on rear triangles, the whole goal is to trap an arm with my leg, bring his arm up, and now I need to shift, because right here, this is a bad angle. So I shift once to get us square. I shift again to get me off to my good angle. And now I know the choke is definitely on. All right, there's very nuanced ways to do this, but the very simple premise is just trapping the arm with your leg and then shifting, and now you're in the triangle. Okay, usually when I get on people's back, I could do it fucking with my eyes closed, blindfolded. I do this to everybody. I grab their same side hand, I go for the choke. They defend the choke, and as they defend the choke, I punch straight down, I feed and I strip, and I trap. And now I 2-on-1, shrimp once, shrimp twice, and now I'm on the triangle, and I have my tap. One of my favorite chokes off the back, because you don't have to dig under the neck, do any fancy shit. I can still use my legs to develop my triangle choke, okay? If you guys have your own way of trapping the arm with the leg, by all means, I've seen a lot of different variations of using the same side. I've seen people where they take their seatbelt and then they trap the arm on the outside and they do this. They feed it to the underneath leg, and you run the lawnmower triangle where you push them into it. Yeah, so it's just a bunch of fancy shit. But anyway, I can trap the arm, right? Regular trapping, pushing him down is better, right? That's a much more effective way with that straight jacket. And the thing that I just showed, use your elbow to catch his arm on the outside, and then you go under your own leg. You feed their hand, and you push on their shoulder, and now you turn them into your triangle chokes. A lot of fancy ways. The main thing is I trap the arm, and then we're in the triangle choke. It's very simple off the bat. To me, the closed guard one is it's easier to set up, because gravity's working with you. So on this one, they're trying to run away, so you still have to hold them. But this one is probably the easiest, with full resistance. This is probably the easiest one to hit. If I told somebody, if I got on your back and I whispered into your ear, I'm gonna triangle choke you right now, and you tried to fight it, I would still triangle choke you. If I do it from side control, I might not actually be able to, honestly. If I use all my strength and size and my black belt level skill, I might not triangle choke you from side control. But I can from the back, for sure. For sure. Even in closed guard, you might just ball up, and then I can't really triangle you. I could take your back or something, but I couldn't triangle you. On the back, I can force the triangle every time. Okay? Questions on the rear triangle, the back triangle? Yeah.
So, during the transition on the back, what are ways to
It's this. Yeah, it's the control on the arm. That's where the actual control is in this position. So once I trap, once I fall to the underhook side, I kick him down. Once I trap like this, all the control comes from me bringing his arm all the way up over his own head. It makes it really uncomfortable for him, and it makes it very difficult for him to rotate or slide or do anything. And especially, like I said, if you have the key lock or this double deadlift grip. You see how the inside of my elbow catches his wrist, and then the inside of this elbow catches his elbow, and I bent his arm? Now, if he goes to resist this and fight out of this, and he doesn't even want to because of how tight it is. It's so strong, and I'm not using any of my strength. Now again, you can hip in and tap them, or just hip in just to make them uncomfortable, and then pull up. And once I'm here, they're not gonna wanna move. Put the side of your foot down. There's my first shift. Now I do it one more time, but this time I'm gonna leave him here. I don't want him to turn with me. This is wrong. He's gotta stay here. I shift on my own. And now I have my triangle. And if this ever fails, the arm is, you just swim inside, just arm bar. Okay? Because this is like the last couple of minutes of the seminar, and I just wanted to say this real quick. In open guard, go ahead and stand real quick. In open guard, in the gi, there is one specific triangle that because I use this so much, it's kind of cheating. I grab people by the collar and the sleeve or double sleeve, and I swivel my foot into their armpit. And when I do this to play lasso, I grab the cross collar and I step on their far shoulder. And then I build a bunch of tension in both my feet and both my poles. And then I release the one that's underneath and I cup the elbow. And you can feel it's really hard to run away. And now I just start extending as I pull, and it's one of my favorite open guard triangles, so I just had to say it because we're getting close to the end. So I'm here, I shift, I enter my lasso guard, I go cross collar, and I go foot on the shoulder to turn his shoulders. And then I release the lasso grip, and I slap the elbow, and then I kick and I climb. It's very, very tight. If people ever let me enter a full lasso like this, it's the first thing I do. Foot on the shoulder, twist and cross collar, release an elbow, and then I stretch and I climb. All right, there's a bunch of fancy triangle transitions. I could show you arm bars of triangles and omoplatas of triangles. I can show you like being here, like De La Hiva, and then you bring people onto their hands. As I off balance them, now I step on the hip and I climb into triangle chokes. There's hundreds of different setups, okay? One key thing to setting up triangles is if they're trying to pass or they're still like up on top like this, if you can ever put someone's hand on the mat, you can triangle choke them, okay? Meaning, if I'm standing here, Miho, and I catch my position of my overhook and I start hitting my uchimata, and he puts his hand down right here, I throw my leg over the back and I climb up and I have flying triangle chokes, okay? If I'm in half guard and I'm wrestling, I'm here, I pull his leg out, boom, boom, and I can force his hand on the mat. I can now jump on triangle chokes, on flying triangles, all right? Another way is this. When I pick up a single leg, and he pummels his leg to the outside, when big guys do this to you, you can flying triangle them, so you're gonna flying triangle me, okay? I gable grip at the knee, and I pick him up like I'm gonna throw him. You're gonna take both your hands and grab the back of my head and just step over my entire neck. Yeah, see that? Yeah. So if you'll pick up single legs on, you can be like, get off me, man, and just flying triangle. Yeah. You gotta know what tournament you're in. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do that in MMA unless you have the cage behind you. Then you can prevent a slam with the cage. All right. There's a lot of triangle setups, guys, like hundreds of them. Like, I could show you basically most submissions transition into triangle chokes. There's a bunch of flying triangles I could show you, a bunch of random setups from different guards, okay? The main ones I wanted to go over was closed guard, side control, mountain back, because those are the most common spots you're gonna be in. Gi and no-gi, they work across the board. Gi and no-gi, I get to a closed guard, I look for triangles. I get on the back, I look for triangles, right? Again, there's 1,000 different guards. I can show you guys how to play K. I can show you guys how to play K guard and then go right into triangle choke. As you're trying to attack the legs, they post on your legs and you can pivot on triangle chokes. Huh? So that one? When you play K guard, if he grabs my leg to prevent the K guard with the far arm, I swing it up and we have an arm bar. If he grabs it with the near side arm, I cut and I spin, and now we're on triangles. If people decide to leg weave pass, where he's weaved between my legs, like this, you grab, you break, and then you spin, and now you have triangles. Okay? People leg weave. He weaved his arm between my legs to crush me inside in half guard. I grab the wrist. You double up on it, I grab his thumb, and I deadlift to break the grip. I've got to keep his grip broken. You can do it the athletic way, where you just take your leg out and tuck, and you spin and pull into your triangles, or you can do it the fat man way, where you build up on your elbow, you turn, and then you forward roll.
You can do that inversion from a leg lasso too.
Yeah, you can. Leg lasso. Yeah. One of the ones I did the other day at HQ. Go ahead and stand up. I was letting him pass guard, back up a little bit. I was doing this, and I was just chilling. And he grabbed my legs, and I grabbed cross. Whenever I grab cross, I can pull myself like I'm starting a Beyblade, and it sends you into triangles. Yeah. So if I can cross wrist grip, you just pull really hard, and it'll spin you into triangle grip. Okay. Any questions on any setup, any defense, any transition? I showed y'all like a quarter of the stuff I was going to show from the high diamond in the triangle position of like what I had like written down in my head and written down on paper. I showed you guys like an eighth of the setups that I was thinking about showing. It's just because we have time restraints. But I can go from omoplata to triangle, armbar to triangle. I have reverse triangles. I didn't get into any of those. I'll be in bottom side control and I'll triangle people all the fucking time. The kind of the over-under pass is the reverse triangle. Alright, so there's so many different setups. So real quick. The side control one, I catch his wrist in my shin, I stretch him away, and I lace. Now we attack the arm. If he's doing a pass like the over-under pass like this, all I have to do is catch his elbow and pass his head. Now I kick him through and I lace my reverse triangles. So, guys, they're fucking everywhere. It was the first submission I got good at, and this is definitely me bragging or being cocky. I knew nothing else other than the triangle choke when I was a white belt. I knew of the other submissions, but I didn't know how to do them live. And I was like a 3 or 4 star black belt, and I went to the gym that I got my black belt from, and I went to their open mat, and I submitted every single person in the gym except the head coach. But I submitted the other black belt, all the brown belts, all the purple belts, all the blue belts, and all the white belts, all with the same triangle choke. Because this is all I used to do. And it was with that first part of the setup. Crushing the head, hip thrusting, and just rebiting. That was all I used to do. Okay, and then I just figured out a bunch of different ways to set it up. So, like I said, I showed y'all some of them. Not even like half of them. Any questions on anything? Triangle choke related. From any guard, any escaping triangle, any setup to the triangle, any finish, any problem you have while you're in it, or how to escape it. Any problems, any questions? No? All right. If you guys want to drill, you can. Let's real quick line up for a little mini picture. I should start the seminars with these because people like walk out of here, but it is what it is. We'll line up under the flag for a second for a little seminar picture. If you have a question, I'm here. If you want to drill, you can drill. Someone can help me spray them off the mats. Like I said, we got little donation boxes. You can donate to blood victims or me, depending on who you think you're good for.
What? Or you could do both.
Yeah, you can do both, yeah. And if you don't want to donate here, you can go on my YouTube. This is all going to be free online for Dragon Warrior BJJ on my YouTube. Are we on frame?
Yeah?
Yeah.
See if I can get more of this.
Good job, guys.